How's it going, guys? This is Jack here with the Commander's Wire, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over what Adam Peters and Assistant General Manager Lance Newmark had to say at their pre-draft press conference they held this afternoon. It was pretty quick, only 25 minutes, and obviously they talked a lot about the draft. Even though we got the jerseys yesterday, they did not speak on those very much at all. So basically the entire draft was the entire conversation of today. But before we get into that, go down below, drop a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to know when I post next, and you guys will be notified whenever I post more Commanders content just like this. I appreciate you guys watching, and let's get right into what Adam Peters had to say. So first off, he did speak on a little bit about the new uniforms, and all that we got is he just said that they look way better, specifically the helmets, which they did have on the table there at the press conference. He just said they looked way better, which I can agree. But now what he had to say about the draft specifically. Adam Peters kind of said that he doesn't have a sense of what the picks ahead of him will be, and what does that mean? He thinks that he has an idea of who is going to get drafted. He just doesn't know in what order yet, which I think I agree. There's a lot of things that are up in the air, especially when you're sitting in the top 10. So he also mentioned specifically, and I quote, if we do pick at 7, all right, I'm going to say that one more time. If we do pick at 7, he said if. There's a possibility that a trade is incoming. We could see that if the Commanders or if Adam Peters wants to trade back, that is definitely a possibility. He also said, but they are more likely than not picking at 7. So they want to make sure that their options are all open for other teams if they do want to pick at 7, but they are more than capable and they are prepared to pick 7 in the first round. And they also want to make sure they're valuing the pick correctly. They want to make sure that teams, if they do want to trade up, aren't going to underpay for that pick. They need to make sure that if a team wants to have the privilege of choosing in the top 10, they may have to overpay a little bit in order to retain that privilege from the Washington Commanders, and I believe that's a very good plan to have if I was the general manager of the Washington Commanders. He also says they feel pretty confident about their evaluations, and I would hope so. Obviously, they're going into a very pivotal year, and they need to make sure that they're getting the best guys they can in order to be a team that is hopefully contending again. Because if not, Adam Peters, maybe specifically Dan Quinn, as well as the rest of the coaching staff, they may not have a job with the Washington Commanders next year, which is very unfortunate. But this is a very pivotal year, especially with Jane Daniels surprisingly, they're reaching the end of his rookie contract here in a couple of years, so they need to make sure they're righting the ship right now. I think they did very well in free agency, but they need to add a couple more guys here in the draft that can hopefully be impact players. And he also says the position of the pick does not really matter when it comes to willingness to trade within the division, and I think what he means here is in-division trades are not off the table. He's not going to be taxing teams that are in the division like the Giants, Cowboys, and Eagles that much more than if they were just another team. I think that's okay. Obviously, we don't want to be giving in-division teams a leg up on us. However, if we believe a trade is worth it and maybe we're getting more value than we are giving back, it may be worth it to trade in the division, specifically maybe with the Cowboys or the Eagles. They aren't that good. I think the Giants, this may be a little strange, but I think the Giants, they have a good head on their shoulders. That's a good saying to use. I think they're definitely on the come up. They have a solid, I think, young quarterback. They have a new coaching staff, a lot of solid young pieces. I think the Eagles dynasty is starting to fall apart a little bit. Obviously, the quarterback situation is very strange. The A.J. Brown situation is very strange. The defense has not been as good as it was. They lost a couple pieces. And then the Cowboys, I think their offense is very well, but the defense is still a pretty big question mark. So I would be okay with trading with the Eagles. Personally, I don't know if I would in this draft. However, the Cowboys may be a team that may want to move up to pick 7, and they could potentially give up maybe one or if not both of their first round picks, and I will not be too opposed to that at all. He also says that you can't overthink waiting to draft a player in a certain round if you think a position is strong or weak, and that refers to positional value. He believes that positional value doesn't really matter as long as that player can help your team from day one. So me personally, you guys are going to hate me for this. I don't know if I want to choose Jeremiah Love in the first round. I just don't know if he's that guy. I think he is talented enough. However, I just think that our running back room is already too crowded. We already signed Rashad White. We have some decent backup running backs, and we also have Ja'Cory Cross-Gameret, who is technically better than Brian Robinson Jr., and I think that is pretty solid. And I don't know if getting Jeremiah Love here at pick 7 is worth benching Bill Krosky Merritt, who was just a 7th round draft pick last year, but has shown a lot of flashes. I don't know if you're able to move off of him yet. And if you're getting a guy at pick 7, you need to make sure that that guy's worth it. That means that Jeremiah Love needs to be having minimum 60, maybe even 70% of the snaps at the running back position. And I just don't know if that is something the Commanders want to consider. Adam Peters also said that he doesn't expect many trades early on, which definitely conflicts with a lot of the analysts here that are talking about the draft. They believe there will be a lot of trades to happen early on. Picks 3 as well as up to pick 7. Those are all teams that are reported willing to trade back, as well as there are a couple teams that are reported willing to trade up. So Adam Peters definitely has a conflicting view on the trading situation, but we'll just have to see when it comes to draft night and what happens. Adam Peters specifically also said there will be a lot of players offensively who can impact the unit in a positive way. I believe this refers to maybe a guy like Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs there in the first round. Maybe you can throw a Mansard Delane in there as well. Those guys can be day one starters who are impacting the defense and hopefully getting that defensive unit a little more well-rounded and at a very high bar compared to the rest of the NFL. And that also goes back into the rest of the draft, right? There's a lot of guys that definitely could come in and potentially be starters. Specifically, I want to look at Bud Clark, a safety they can get maybe on day 2 or maybe early day 3. He is definitely someone that I could look at potentially beating this team starting free safety. There are a couple corners there in the 3rd round, a couple edge rushers that you can probably get in the 3rd round, as well as maybe a couple offensive linemen. Specifically at the center position, who you can get in the 3rd round, maybe even the 5th round, that have the potential to start. So obviously there's a lot of players that the Commanders could look at, and I think they need to get some impactful guys here next week at the 2026 draft. Adam Peters specifically talked about trading back and the checklist he needs to go through in order to make sure that trading back is worth it. First of all, he needs to know who is available at the pick they're currently at. They need to know if maybe none other guys are here, they were taken ahead of them, so it may be worth it to trade back. On top of that, how far back are you getting? Going from 7 to 15 is a lot different from going to 7 to 25, right? So they need to make sure that you're also getting a solid package in return, right? Like I said, going from 7 to 15, that package may look a little smaller compared to going from 7 to 25, right? If you're going to go to 15, you may be asking for maybe a 3rd or 2nd round pick, but if you're going all the way back to 25, you may want a 2nd, 3rd, and maybe another day 3 pick, right? It really just all depends on where you're going, as well as you need to know who is available. So you also need to make sure that you're doing your due diligence, that if you are moving back to a new spot, you need to make sure that you know who you're going to get, as well as doing your due diligence to make sure that you're getting someone that is going to be pretty solid there if you are moving back in that type of way. Specifically, they mentioned they had a lot of offers for pick 29 last year where they chose Josh Connolly Jr., but heading into the draft, they knew that if Josh Connolly Jr. fell to them at pick 29, they were not going to trade back and they had to take him. So that's what they did. However, in 2024, at pick 2 with Jaden Daniels, they had received no phone calls at all, which makes sense. It would have taken a lot in order to get the Commanders off of pick 2. So that is just some things that Adam Peters just mentioned about trading back specifically and what goes into that. He also said when it comes to free agency, how does that impact draft plans? And I think Adam Peters has a pretty usual perspective on this, is the same perspective that I share as well. And he says that you would need to fill out your roster in free agency as best as you can, and basically need to prepare it in order to, as if you're going into a game the next day, right? That means that you can focus on adding the best player available without worrying about filling holes in the draft. And a good example of this is maybe you're sitting there at pick 30 and you have a pretty glaring need at cornerback, right? You need to have a corner. If not, you're probably not going to do well at all that year. And potentially a guy that was a potential top 15 pick fell to you at pick 30. Unfortunately, he is not a cornerback, but you still need that cornerback position. The next corner is sitting there projected to be pick 45. Now, because of this glaring need, you need to choose the guy at pick 45 rather than choosing the guy that fell to you from pick 15, right? That is kind of a simple mathematical example I'm giving to you guys in order to see why filling out your roster in free agency is the best thing to do in order to go into the draft, addressing no holes. You're only addressing best player available. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make. You want to try and get the best players as possible out of the draft. And lastly, Adam Peters just mentioned that the best players that he looks for in the draft are just athletes. We all know he's a big fan of the RAS scoring system, and he believes that that system is pretty solid in order to get the best players imaginable, and that the better athletes have more upside. And I would also tend to agree especially in the later rounds, a lot of guys, they may not have the skill set to be day one starters, but if they have that athleticism, they could be versatile in order to plug holes where they need, maybe on special teams, maybe if a guy is playing a position in college, but he's super athletic, the Commanders could coach him up in a way to change their position, maybe something that is similar to what they did, but not exactly. A good example is maybe going from corner to safety and vice versa, or even from safety to linebacker, something like that. And having good athletes makes that transition much better and will result in a better, well-rounded team. So that is everything the Commanders had to say at today's press conference regarding the upcoming draft here in just 1 week. I appreciate you guys watching till the very end. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on the draft process, specifically at pick 7. Are you team stick and pick? And if you are, let me know what player you want to choose there at pick 7. And if not, if you are a fan, I'm going to put myself in there as well. Potentially trading back, maybe trading back to the early teens, late teens, maybe even just maybe 1 or 2 spots like at pick 9. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are and what your opinion is on what to do with the 7th overall draft pick. This is the end of today's video. Trying to be more consistent, trying to get some more videos out for you guys. Obviously, we have the draft coming up in just 1 week. I will be live streaming the entire draft, day 1, day 2, and day 3. Also expect my final mock draft hopefully either this weekend or even early next week, just to finish out my 10 mock drafts before the official 2026 NFL draft. But that is everything I have for today. I appreciate you guys watching to the very end. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go down below, drop a like, subscribe, drop a comment, and turn on the post notifications to know when I post next. You guys will be notified whenever I post more Commanders content just like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless, and hail to the Washington Commanders.